On today's episode of the Pathways to Wellbeing podcast, we are joined by Marcus, a mystic and soul magician who has experienced a profound journey of helping others reach and live their transcendental 5D state. Marcus combines his deep knowledge of psychology, music, and the Alexander technique with his unique spiritual gifts to guide people towards their purest soul experience. Today, we will be diving into what the 5D state means and how it differs from our usual 3D experiences, and how Marcus helps individuals to shed the layers that prevent them from realizing their true essence. May you enjoy today's conversation, and if you would like to really help Sacred You out, please hit the subscribe button, give us a like, or check us out at www.sacredyou, that's the letter U, .love for more valuable resources. Have a wonderful and amazing day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pathways to Wellbeing with Sacred You. My name is Helen Prince, and I'm really pleased to introduce you to Marcus Betz today. Hello, Marcus. Welcome.
Hello, Helen. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So just a little bit about Marcus. So Marcus was born a mystic and a soul magician, and I really want to get into that a little bit because that sounds just incredible, and I don't know a lot about that, so I'd really like to deep dive into that a little bit. But you've also done some psychology, you're into music, you've done the Alexander technique, which I'd like you to tell us a little bit more about that as well. Hypnotherapy, you've done a lot of things, and
Yes.
What we're talking about today is reaching and living your transcendental 5D state. What can we just start? What is a 5D state?
That's quite a word. No, some say 5D state, others say 12D state. It really depends on how you want to call it. It is basically your purest soul state. So what you really are, what never does change actually through your evolution, through lifetimes, many lifetimes. But it's actually a state, your fingerprint, your energetic one, which does not really change. So like your individuality, how you have been created. So how to be yourself and to live that, because there's quite a big difference between the normal 3D world, what you have learned, all the emotions that you have not transcended and healed yet. So you're the thing that you are not in that world here. And this 5D state is how you reach that action, how you live it in everyday life, so that you don't have a meditation and a beautiful thing, and the rest of your life is just a bunch of insecurity, anger, problems with the neighbors or whatever. No, it's the rest. It's like your beautiful, peaceful, essential state. So you're like with your soul, with your source, with the source of your energy, and a blissful, peaceful state.
Because that's how we come into the world, isn't it? We are this beautiful, blissful state. And then, like you said, we live life and we have different experiences, how we're brought up, where we're brought up, the environment, the people we interact with. So it gets covered up a little bit. So you're teaching us how to shed those layers and come back to who we really are.
I would absolutely, please, because in your inner longing, you possibly, when you are like a very deep soul, a mystic soul, a truth seeker, you long for that state. You always look for that state. You look for the higher harmony, like as a star seed or light worker that you would be when you look for your light and to install it and live it. You will have this deep longing, and then you need to know how to shed these layers. And for this, I bring a completely new way of doing it, and that I was told many years ago through my meditations, and I first didn't like it because it is easier to.
Why was that? Why didn't you like it?
Because, I thought if you want to have decent work and to bring a decent transformational work, you better study something decent, let's say decent. So I studied psychology for a time, and I found out that it has nothing to do with my inner wisdom that I brought, but absolutely nothing. Actually, I got into a kind of depression because all my beautiful Vedic ideas and for me as a clairvoyant, it was also very clear anything that I thought or somehow believed that it was like an unconscious kind of knowledge that was eradicated by scientific study, let's say. Everything was neurotransmitter, chemics, and whatever. And I found that a big, a sadness coming up. I thought, oh, I think life and humanity is about something very else. To a point that I quit psychology. Because at the same time I studied music that kept me alive. That was my soul's longing. But to make this long story short, I had this big longing. There is something that I came to do here on earth. There is a purpose, and I know it's about helping. And I did help people through the Alexander technique first as a musician, like recovering lyrical opera voices. This was like a big thing, 10 years. But there was this thing, there was something missing. And that something missing, I heard about then that Dr. Michael Newton, who did these life between lives regressions into that state of your 5D state, like getting home through a past life death to spirit and to remember with clarity what it is that you came to do, what you are. And it made a lot of sense. So I thought, okay, we train in that. I have to do it. This was a longer process, actually, with a student of him. But that is also just one thing. So what I came to do was just not showing people their habits and how they work, but showing really what it is, what they are, how it feels, how this vibration is, and how you free that up. And through these meditations I did every day, it was then soon told to me, you don't have any masters on earth. What you bring is new. And I did not feel like this. No, I wanted to be like a trusted spiritual advisor who really gives you not ideas, because it's full of 4D ideas. These are like from lower astral beings who pretend to be high evolved spirits, and many people bringing their own techniques, but they're like 4D things. And when they're mixed in with, say, a technique which has not a lot of light, or using lots of plant medicines or ayahuasca, what it is that is mixed up with lower vibrating beings, which never ever tell you the truth. This is like a interesting thing, but it will confuse you and it will never ever make you free. And your 5D state is where you have absolute freedom. So when I was told, okay, this is something completely new, I didn't like it because I wanted to belong to a body which is professional and like with the psychology, but really didn't fit in. So I had one experience. I went to a yoga teacher when it came, okay, it's something with words and it's something with energy, what you do. I thought, very strange. So what I can do, my help, is look at people and see what actually is missing, or what, not missing, you cannot say, but what's blocking them. Yeah. And like to name it exactly. I thought this is like a nonsense. Why should I? Because I couldn't understand at that state with my consciousness what it really is and how powerful actually it is. So I went to that teacher, this energetic yoga teacher, and with this group, and there was an exercise just with him one day. And he would say, oh, you have to do something, but it's really like your energy is totally strange. It's freaking out. This is like too crazy. There's something not right. And if you hear that, how many people, how many starseeds think they're not right and are told or conclude they're not right? It is because of exactly this, that they don't fit in. So I thought, okay, let's go home. This teacher really doesn't know. I also don't know, didn't know at that point. I thought, okay, but we can't operate. So we need to stop that, I thought. And I went home with my beautiful spiritual masters, and I thought, okay, in my meditation, there is some learning situation. There is something interesting. What does it mean? And it was not a complex thing that I had to view or review or to get to know about it. Just those masters with a smile, and they told me, we told you there are no masters on earth. We are your masters. Trust and just begin that process. And I thought, okay, let's start that. But that was a process, or is still a process, for the last 12 years at least, a daily thing. And by this, my power increased a lot, my healing power, which is like almost the miraculous ones. And I would be able to solve cases that I would have never ever thought of. For instance, a person with a big drug addiction, he came to me, and with a 1-month training with 3 sessions, all of this was gone. Or another
His
person
addiction was gone.
Yes.
Wow.
And you could.
So what do you actually do with them in your sessions? This is fascinating.
Yes, I do with him, like with any other person, the very same thing, which is for me the very same thing. So when we are together, I look actually at the energetic field. and the informations are just there. I just open it up like a book. For instance, if we take into account like the addiction part, there's always this thing that the person doesn't want to feel because the feeling is just too overwhelming, and she wants to feel something else. The really true feeling is blocked away by the addiction. That's quite a general thing. So what we see is, what I can then see is that blocked emotion, what it is, which that person possibly forgot. It's a whole story of how you live, like a pattern, to escape from reality, not to want to feel, and we extract it. And there are like lots and lots of parts that you need to take in account, like the external energies, what is really like external dark energies, astral beings, which feed on your emotions, the emotion that it is there, which possibly is something you took over from someone or from family. So you have lots of parts in that structure. What is ancestral? What is a family system? What is your own trauma that you cannot see, but is for me visible? We bring it up, and actually then we just transform it energetically. And for this, I have completely new tools, which are so powerful. It's just in no time you get this done. In case of that person, he would have, I think in the first or second session, such a big smile. He said, this high I get with you is so much higher than with any substance. And it doesn't need any substances, and it comes from within. And I can't stop smiling when I really connect with myself. And he would say, I fell in love with myself. I recognize I am that. Yes. And by the shift of perspective, everything just will fall off. And then you need just very little work. But however, in such a case, you have a whole lifetime, because there are like many years of abuse of those substances. It was like 8 years heavily, but basically his whole life. He was 44 years at this point. And he found out, if I go on like this, I have not so many years to live. And we talk about really heavy substances, so the various ones. I'm not a fan of any kind of substances, not even like those adored plants, because they just falsify your perceptions. They open up channels for lots of strange beings, which then pretend to be true and bring truth to you, but actually is not. That's not the case. So we cleaned his field again and again, and I taught him how to do this, because in that kind of it's coaching. It's the word I don't really, because it's a deep transformational process, which we do daily. So between the sessions, you have the daily access to me, because you need to find out how you feel every day and to discern, is that feeling mine? If it's not, you send it away. You need to know where comes it from. So in that process, your inner wisdom is then unraveled and your healing ability increases. And it's in no time that we got him good again, and there is no way of falling back. So if we put him together back into his surrounding, because he was part of a certain surrounding in a certain street where all those people would gather, and his friends and like family, we stimulated him and went there together, and he would say, there's nothing happening anymore. I don't feel it. You could offer anything to me. I don't feel that I have to do it. It's just a way. Wow. And that's the thing. People would say, I have to force myself and I have to see not to fall back. And it's with any addiction like this. You can, like smokers normally, when they came to me, it's one single session. And as a hypnotherapist, I had lots of people wanting to stop smoking. I had to do lots of free sessions during my period of training. And I was really bored by that, because it's not the thing that I do now, which actually I came to do. It was just a technical thing. And for a great part, this worked perfectly. They would stop, but a few would not. And I was then aggravated. I thought, oh, this must be possible, but they were not ready for a deeper inner work. But in that's
right. You have to be wanting to change.
Yes.
You can't be going because somebody said that you need to do this. It has to be something that you want to do for yourself and make that decision. And then you have that commitment to support, because you have to have that commitment to support it as well, to do the work that you need to do. And to be open to receiving the energy and everything that you're bringing to the table as well. It's it's really important that they want it for themselves, and not 90% want it, not even 99% want it. They have to 100% want that for themselves. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's fascinating. And that's the real measure, isn't it? That you can put yourself back into the same trigger environments and not be triggered. So
Will
then
not
you know that this is, yeah, that's fantastic.
And this I guarantee you. Very often my phrase is like to reach your state where no trigger can reach you anymore. But it seems like many people would not be interested in that, because what is it? What trigger? You cannot be triggered anymore. But it is exactly like with the very same thing. We can do it with phobias, with fear disorders. It's the very same thing, and it goes as quickly away.
Yeah.
With the thing. So
that's very liberating. So many people live with fears and they don't do the things that they want to do because of the fear. So to be able to free them from that is just opening up so many more experiences.
Yes. And that on a small scale, like if you really are a fearful person, I have been a fearful person myself, just because in my family, as a highly sensitive, and many other sensitives also have the same experience, they are not respected or seen, or those sensations and emotions and premonitions are not taken seriously by the family. So you don't have a support from within. And I had no support at all until my late 20s or so, that I thought, okay, this is like normal. I even thought I would not be an intuitive. I mean, intuition and creativity, it was like, oh my God, I have to do something. But it came out just like an accident, that someone told me, look at that person. I said, oh yeah, that person. Oh yeah, she's a choir conductor. She has that and that behavior, and she does this and this. And the friend would tell me, how do you know that all? I said, but it's quite obvious. You just look at the person.
It's like, how do you not know that, is probably what you were thinking.
Yeah,
totally. It was your normal.
Totally normal. And he would say no. And we were sitting in a cafe, and he would say, but look at that person, because I was in a place that I was just visiting. I could not know anyone there. That, oh yeah, that guy, he has this and that structure, and he does it, and his life would look like this. And again, the eyes were like open. So how do you know that? That it's like normal. Everyone does. And they would say, no. And it's like extraordinary, your intuition. And I thought, okay, me? So I had a wrong.
So is that how, sorry, Marcus, is that how you got the name soul, or is that something that is a phrase? Do you know what I mean? Or is that something you called yourself, a soul magician?
I had to find out how I call myself. The magician, or the magic, is like the true transformation of things. The magician, the alchemist, takes something and changes into something completely else. It's like the lead that you turn into gold. And that's what we do in that particular transformation when we do transformational work. This is where, as a result, triggers fall away, fears fall just off, or addictions fall just off. This is where the deep transformation happens. And we do it from that power of your soul. A sort of light has normally that power. So we access it and we free that. And with my help, this actually gets a lot quicker and much more precise. And at the other side, it is also, we free up the soul. So we work with the soul. We want to have its highest expression here in daily life, that you're totally on your lane, in your lane, and doing what you came to do, but also fine-tuning about it. So how it really wants, how can you enjoy life more? This is just only not about anymore getting away of fears and limitations. This is much more about how to invite bliss, satisfaction, abundance, all this in life, because it's a soul state, and we want this soul state, this 5D state, to be expressed here. And that's where the inner work is. And the magic happens when you remove anything that is not you, which has been you, which you have lived through maybe karmically many lifetimes, or you took it over, and we just transform it and turn it into your goal. This is like a phrase which sometimes sounds like work, lots of work, but it is not. So even the heaviest trauma we could now be working on in our conversation would be as light as it is. Maybe we have a minute or so of meditation when I make you look what is happening when I talk about this. Do you feel that pressure on your shoulders? Because I would start to feel it. Then we investigate it, and we internal magical transformation. It's how magicians always have been working in the past.
Yeah. And that was one of my questions I wanted to ask you is, can you do it over Zoom, or do you have to be face to face with the person to feel the energy? And
No, energy has no space, no time. I do it with
yeah,
wherever, and I almost only do it via Zoom.
that's
This,
fantastic.
yes, the reading is there. It does not really matter, and the clarity is completely there. I think it's a myth when people say you have to be present with me in the same room, that I can feel your energy. I think there is where the misleading ideas start. And everyone who learned or studied with me has that same ability.
So what is the Alexander technique? Is that different to what you do now?
Yes.
So can you
Yes.
Okay, so that was something else that you were learning on your growth journey. Okay.
Totally. It was like a pre-phase and like an important phase because it's my perception, my observation. In a way, it has the same kind of approach, which is if you stop the wrong thing, the right thing does itself. That was what Alexander found out when you don't interfere with your postural reflexes. So you get overall lightness and coordination, but by removing like your pull down or stopping your habit, which would interfere with your postural reflexes. And that is a mental process. It's a thought process in action. So many musicians, actors, he was actually an Australian, well, he was from Tasmania.
Okay.
Yes, and he started his first work there in the 1800s, 70s, 80s, 90s there, and he moved to London where it just became like a big thing. So many musicians and many conservatories, it's taught as a compulsory subject to prevent problems and pains because of those repetitive movements you have. So if we do lots of movements on the computer, you might get into habits that are harmful and you get pains. That's to prevent it or to unwind it and to get out of it. And for this, you need a very clear observation of what is happening, because what you feel sensorily, what is happening, is maybe not exactly what's happening from the outside when you watch it. So Alexander called that, how he called it, faulty sensory perception. And that is the thing that our senses mislead us. I took it later on to what energetically happens, because when there are lots of filters in you, you might perceive something, but you don't perceive it how it is, what really happened. And if you feel something and perceive something in your field, a kind of emotion or whatever it is, and you're not right with it, you cannot really work with it because you're blind. You look in one direction while it happens in another direction. And in that way, my perception was heightened that I can actually first ask, is it really true what I perceive? Or is it somehow distorted, and where are the filters? In both cases, Alexander's work and my work, how it evolved, is an experience. You cannot really know what it is without having the experience. It needs to go through your senses. If I talk about blissful states and like the overall connection, enlightened states, someone told me you should actually call yourself a mentor for enlightened living, but this seems like too much or strange. So I called myself like a soul magician and transcendence mentor, because you reach beyond it. That's also what the Alexander technique does. It opens up your potential because it reaches beyond your habits and the conceptions which caused your habits. So you free up space that would otherwise not be possible to be experienced and to live. And that is very similar to what I do with people, but on a spiritual plane. Alexander work has no spiritual component. Though many people say, oh, it's like Buddhism, don't do the wrong thing, the right thing does itself. Many of those quotes, they seem to be like or so, but it has not much to do with a high connected work, because it does not respect the soul. Alexander would say you're the sum of your habits, and what you are, what you think, this is what life is. And if you stop your habits and you're thinking about it, it's like mindset work. I'm not a fan of it, because it does not bring about big changes that are lasting. How I do it, like the magical transformation. And
it's very conscious, isn't it? The mindset stuff. It's just at this sort of level.
Exactly. And for physical pains, very often it's like emotional things. People would say, I have this oppression here when I sing. Was a singer. She came and she said, I have such an oppression here when I sing and I feel like anxious publicly. And I told her, yeah, Alexander technique lessons are like 30 lessons you need in order to retrain your habits and to retrain yourself. But actually, I suggest something else because I was already seeing that this is like big anguish here. We just put it out of your system. She would be happy to do anything which gets her off of her ill being. So we just pulled out that anguish, which took a couple of seconds. She was relieved. Next time she went back for an Alexander lesson, that's when I was still mixing these things. I didn't do that later. She would say, I had a concert. I was waiting for the panic. I couldn't feel it anymore. It was away. Another person would like it. She had a dentist panic, the phobia. And she said, we worked on a panic now. We didn't. We worked on something else, but there was one panic energy coming out, but I don't know what it was related to. She said, I was sitting on that chair. I was waiting for the panic. I tried to recreate it in my mind. I could not. It was just away. And she could not believe how it is. That's when you really remove the triggers. With mindset work, you never, ever reach this because this comes from your mental energetic field, your mental body, which works into your emotional body, and you try to create emotions, but it doesn't respect your higher spiritual bodies. You're really like your essential ones, like your soul. The Alexander technique doesn't do that either. That's the thing. And that was when I had to stop it, actually. It's a very useful tech. Anything that is practical, I can recommend it. But for enlightened states and development of consciousness, it does not help.
And this is where you start where you are and you learn, first of all, oh, okay, this isn't normal, what I'm thinking. I have some gift, and then you learn and you've learnt the different techniques, and this is how things evolve. And so how long have you been doing what you're doing in the form that you're doing it now?
I'd say for the last 12 years.
Okay.
With my other work, I started 24 years ago. So that kind of observation, working with myself, this took the last 24 years. And it's part of it because the other thing just developed through it. Yes, with a power that I would have never, ever imagined would be possible. Sometimes it happens to us that we have in pictures or in desires as a child, like very small moments that would say, oh, what if this or that would be possible, if this would be easy. For me, it was, I was outside in the garden and people talked about like surgery and things. Some person, I thought, how would that be if you just could open up your chest and you remove this anguish that I felt or that sadness. When that happens, I know I will be sad for a long time, and it takes such a long time to be like good again. So as a small child, I had already these questions. What I didn't know is that exactly this we are doing now. It's almost like a surgery. You take out anything which is between trigger, the reaction, the whole complex thing. It's almost like getting it very precisely done. And then it's done, and you have an immediate change in your well-being, not just in a couple of time. Like it's part of the process. It's a very good excuse always to not get the work done. And we leave it and we leave it, and there's no change basically.
So when you say you take it out, you have to put something back in. Is there a space, or how does that work?
This is the space for yourself. So you fill it with your own energy. So it's almost more space for your true self. And
because this is all the gurus say, we've got everything we need inside us to be happy, to be healthy, to be all of that. So you're effectively removing the cork that's blocking the flow.
Yes.
And so when you take that out, the flow can resume its flow.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's raising your vibrations, dropping the weight off. And the high vibration is already you. It's your core as a soul of light. We are not all soul of light here that are incarnated. That was also something I came to know maybe 1.5 years ago, that there are other kind of beings incarnated. So a starseed or a light worker, maybe also not. They're not always souls of light. So I had also this beautiful idea that we are all one, we are all coming from the light, and we have all, and this is not true. It's not true. There are like beings from other realms that are not the light that try actually to get to you. They're also like healers and coaches, but they possibly get their life energy from you. You as a light, bright person get your life force energy directly from the light, from your core. And this is limitless. You can get this immediately. Just yesterday in my group, I talked about this, and we did a few meditations like how to replenish and revitalize yourself, your energy, by connecting to your divine core. That was just a half an hour. We did talks and experiences, and that's there. But for a being who's not coming from the light, this is not possible. And these are the ones who will maintain their problems, and they will get into negative structures, would attach to you and drain your energy. There are lots and lots of things to be talked about, but this is not part now of that thing, because it's really important to know, okay, when I find out that there is a person from the unlight or the not light trying to contact, I know that this is going to result in bigger problems for me. And when a person comes to me for help, I always ask first, because this is an essential deep process. Is that soul ready for this transformation? Am I the one? And that I do far before I ever respond a message. Yes, let's have a talk, like a first talk, or yes, you can book a couple of sessions or a 3 months training with me. I do this before, because if it's not the thing, it will be very, messy for both. And I can't put my energy with people who are not ready to receive it, or who will never ever be ready to receive it. So those little bugs come to the light and they just want to suck these energies, my life force energies. If it's like this, I normally close immediately the contact. There's something like light would say, oh, you can't because it's all accepting and all the gurus say this and that. But if you want to have true knowledge, you don't get involved with a person like this. And it's like your active decision to say, no, it's not here. That's not me. You need to.
That's right. That's your right to do that. We all should learn to do that, actually, put boundaries in place when things are not really. We know when we're in toxic environments and toxic people, it's having the confidence, maybe is not the right word, but being able to say no and put those boundaries in place is where a lot of people do struggle at times.
Totally.
So Marcus, you talked about you work with people who have got addictions. So who else do you work with? And there's another thing I want to ask you, sorry, quickly, before we get onto that, before I forget it. So when you were talking about, and just give me a little bit of clarity here, because you're talking about if somebody was feeling really sad and you take that out and they don't get triggered by that event anymore, but they're still going to feel sad if something sad happens, that they're not going to not feel.
What is the result of when you do what I teach you? You reach a state beyond emotions. Your soul has no emotions. It is a state, if you haven't reached it, you can't really describe it. But when you are there, this is such an immense state. It's of eternal bliss. I got this, today it's called a near-death experience. I had this in my dream in my early 20s. It is something very similar. Also that kind of consequences. When I came back, I thought, okay, I cannot talk to anyone about that. It is like too crazy. It is far out of that thing. But I was also taken in my dreams as a child very often back to where we come from, like to home. My sadness was also about that we cannot interlace these two worlds, where we come from, where everything is blissful, respectful, loving. There's this intense connection with the other beings, and we have not this here and on the earth. I thought this wouldn't be possible. Today it is possible. And that's actually what we do. But this is like beyond emotions. And I think that we long for this. We long for this universal love. This is not depending on persons, on things. If happiness depends on things, outer things, this is going to start and end. It is not an eternal thing. What you live free up is the eternal happiness, which you are already. So it's necessary that you have much less emotions. We are very addicted to emotions and to feel them. And it's not a bad thing. It's how it is. But life does not happen anymore through emotions when you do what I teach you. It happens through presence, through your presence, through wisdom, through your enlightenment, let's say, no? And in that sense, it will not be possible to never feel again sadness, because it could be just in that your environment, from your collective field, from other persons, you might even feel it. But the thing is, it will never ever hold you back and get you not moving out of it. If you feel it, you can even, if you can see what exactly that is. This my energy? Do I feel it from someone? Is it a collective thing? Is it something else? And the moment you recognize it and you do a small energetic shift, it just flow through your system, and it will be just away in a second. It almost looks like a scam, right? Now, if I say you remove all the energies and all the emotions at once, it looks like a big scam. But I can tell you it's the thing. I had someone in my group, she worked with me many years ago when I was living in Argentina. I did also a long time, a period living in South America. And she had always like a kind of depressive disorder somehow. And she disappeared for years. And when I started 2 months ago, a new group, Facebook group, 5D Consciousness is called, The Definite Shift to Fulfillment. She came there and was taking part in my live sessions, which I do every Monday at 8:30 here, but our time. And she took part in 2 workshops for the South Americans because this is a reduced price. I had people who asked me, can you do it? We are still wanting work with you. And I know it's outrageously expensive, but we can't pay that. And I thought, okay, there are several people. We'll just put them all together. And she took part, and she had this big depression for 20-something years, more than 20 years. And she, as a depressed person, doesn't really get going. She's just lethargic, lying down there, and she can't get herself moved. So we had this session with her, and then a little VIP group that I did for these people. And I told her, your depression is ancestral. It's not yours. It comes through your family. You're taking this for someone. It's time to just eradicate it. Plus a lot of dark beings, which we just had to remove. It was 2 sessions. She would say, it's incredible. Depression is over. I started doing things. Fantastic. I started motivated. So that answers that question also. I'm not a specialist in addictions, though I know how it works. It's one part of the thing. It's through any like heavy, intense emotional issue that you have been working on. It doesn't really get away, and you want to develop as a soul. It's not a treatment where you stay the same person. It's unraveling yourself, your true self, and living it. So it's a clear direction. You cannot stay how you are, because everything that you have been with all the heavy emotions, all your depressions and whatever, or fear disorders, or other heavy emotions, or like lack of self-esteem, or whatever it is, blaming yourself for everything, feeling guilty or a lot of shame, whatever it is, what you vibrate, it's in your general field stored. You might not be able to feel that, even if you think, oh, I'm a lot better. Your field stores all these charges and emotions. For me, it's visible. And this creates your reality. The universe brings to you exactly what you vibrate. And if you want something different, you just start to change within yourself. And that brings us to the next thing, the manifestation thing. Now, many people get into manifestation. We have to do this and that is not a true knowledge, especially not if it is based on mindset and you do it all, it's your force. It's together with the universe. For instance, when I teach how to manifest, we never ever involve emotion, because emotional is not a factor of manifesting. It's your soul energy, which is beyond. It's a different dimension. It's from there where you channel what is your true desire, because lots of your desires are not yours. For instance, the coach, I had a friend, she was like this, we just get another 100,000 in and then we are fine, and just we to put 3 buttons on our computer and another 100,000 are there, and I have my cocktail at the beach. This desire some coaches do have, and that is normally not the person's desire. That's something you took on from your colleagues or so, and from your envy. Yeah. When you get your true soul desire and what is really now ready, you free up yourself and it happens. And in that sense, it happens the other way around. For instance, another client, she contacted me also with a problem, like a desire, like a thing in her chest that was, I don't know if it was anguish or a kind of a depression. I don't know exactly anymore what it was. So we went to one of those magic spaces here on Ibiza. They help such a lot. There are energy portals I have never seen so big and clear. You're just putting the person there and things start to flow. We did that session on that. We removed out all these energies, and she would start to cry. So I feel like being in love. It's like I have never felt something so beautiful. It's okay. It was just one single session, because sometimes that's all it needs. People coming from scarcity, oh, it's just one session and then we'll see, but actually it's not a thing. Better, it's always like a whole set and to have my help. But with her, it was like this. And she would come back and said, it happened, so many things were happening. I don't feel this anymore. I put now boundaries with my husband and also with my boss. Actually, the boss, just by herself, she gave me the things that for years she wouldn't give me because her contract was messy. It was not completely clear. There was a part which was more or less legal. And the boss said, no, I'll just put you here. I will raise your salary and take these 10,000 because you're such a good worker. It's just a gift from me. She would say it has never happened before that it seems to be solved. Why is that? Because your internal configuration in your vibration changed such a lot by moving out these things that aren't you and replacing it what you really are. So you raise your vibration, your frequency consistently because you don't do it by thinking about something and trying to force your energy in a certain way, which is happy. I have to focus and I have to think about something like this, like many manifestors do. No, you just remove it all and you get into your brightest state, which has this already, what you said already before, in you, and your field changes so dramatically that the universe will respond and will bring these things without that you have maybe ever asked. That's why people experience such a huge shift in their lives without actually not
fascinating, Marcus. It really is fascinating, and I've very much enjoyed this conversation. When people work with you, and I'll get you to say how they can work with you. When you work with them for however many sessions it is, do they have to then do something else themselves? I think you said before one gentleman was doing stuff in between the sessions, but after the sessions are finished, do they have to continue to have a daily practice that they do on their own?
Yes.
Okay.
And when you learn how to use your consciousness and your ability to transform anything that comes along, no? Because with a session, you feel like tremendously different, and the next day things are going to happen. You feel that they're different. You might feel that this and that disappeared, but you now sense that and that. It could even be that very dense emotions are uncovered that you haven't felt before, but they were in your field, and then you start to feel them. So you need to know how to deal with it and how to transform it by yourself. So your transformational power is activated. So what I want and what I teach is how you get independent and to do this with yourself, to really become into your force. And that happens in daily life. It's not one session and another session, and you keep in the meanwhile going what you always did. No, the VIP prompt that you every day you have a small connection to me, and even if you just write in WhatsApp to me, people will say, "Oh, just write to you," and I think already clarity is coming because they're in my space and my energy of clarity. It comes to them. Or I have this and that now, and I don't know how to deal with it. For me, if we're talking like this, or if I look at your field just by writing a message to you, it's the very same thing. Is it, oh, it seems that now a layer of confusion is coming up, or a layer of that you might repeat, you took it over from your mother to feel you have not to express yourself. Just remove the whole pattern. And then it's actually happening with it. Oh, I'm so much better. Yes, that was it. And things start to change every day, every day. Big sessions are so intensive and energy intensive. You cannot have every day a session. It's impossible. Not even every week. Though we plan in a month, 3 sessions, we have to see exactly how to time them because you have access to me every day normally. And that's where the miracles are happening. And within a month, you are tremendously different. The person with the addiction was already completely out of that. And so many other things would happen that would be impossible to do. One of myomas, she had myomas, and she was seeing that it was a repetitive thing through all the women in her line and ancestry lineage. And we found out the chart, what it is, and her information came to her. What it happens is to trust in her miraculous power, because next day she would have going to the doctor and to prepare the surgery, but they would say it disappeared all.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it, but she said, yes, I have the echographies, big thing, 12 centimeters to nothing.
Wow.
So
that's amazing. Amazing. Oh, Marcus, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation. So tell us very quickly, how can people get in contact with you if they're resonating with what you're saying and they want to experience what you do?
So when they want really directly to experiences, so I have every Monday at 8:30 a small experience about a topic whatever it is, it's always channeled directly what the group needs, the members needs. This Facebook group is called 5D Consciousness, a definite shift to fulfillment, and they just can register there, answering the questions, putting the email in, and they are in and can ask the questions. Otherwise, also my Facebook profile, Marcus Betz, the inner mastery, it's also called. They can just befriend me and get into a conversation. And the Instagram account is Soul Energy Magic. So you can follow me there as well, though I don't do so much there.
And I'm sure that Sacred You will put in all the links and everything where people can get in contact with you, and I'll post it underneath the video as well.
Nice.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure meeting you. And yeah, I've learned a lot. It's quite incredible. I love all of these things. Anything that makes us become better or become more of who we're actually meant to be and raises that vibration. It's got to be a good thing for not just us, for the whole world.
Exactly. All what is around you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you this morning, and I absolutely loved it. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Have an amazing day, Marcus.
Thank you. To you too.
And, yeah, we might chat again another day. You never know.
Whenever you wish, it would be my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. What an insightful conversation with Marcus. If this episode resonated with you and you are ready to take the next step on your personal transformational journey, I do encourage you to connect with Marcus by clicking on the links below. And here at Sacred You, we believe in creating pathways to well-being that empower every soul to rise to their highest potential. So if you have been inspired, please share this episode with those who might benefit from it. And be sure to subscribe to our channels so you do not miss any future conversations like this. And for more resources on personal growth and community support, visit us at www.sacredyou.love. Together, let's continue to create a world where we are all living from a place of pure love, light, and connection. Until next time, keep shining and walking your path to true well-being.